IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners.
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories. Hope you're all well and keeping safe. On the podcast today, we speak with a dear listener and a rural development professional, Geo Sebastian, as he takes us to the quaint little town of Diu, which most of us remember from our geography class as being one of the union territories of India along with Daman. Sit back and enjoy as Geo takes us around his own backyard as we discover Diu beyond its name and beaches. Let's hop onto the episode and find out more. So, with that introduction, we'd love to welcome Geo Sebastian, a traveler and a listener to the Musafir Stories. Geo, thank you so much for being on the podcast and welcome.
Thank you, Saif, for having me at the Musafir Stories. I've been an avid listener, and I've been listening to the Musafir Stories with all the podcasts. And I'm based now in Germany, and I've been hearing all the stories that you have been posting with all the travelers that are there.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Geo. And it's our pleasure to have listeners reach out and get a chance to bring them on and host them on the podcast. They started and the podcast has sustained mostly because listeners like yourself have been listening over time and encouraging and supporting us. So really, really glad to have you. The intro I gave about you at the beginning was very short and concise. Why don't you speak a little bit more about yourself and your connection to Diu?
Yeah, so my name is Geo Sebastian. I am natively from Kerala, but I have lived my life in Diu. I have been brought up in Diu because my parents were teachers in Diu. They served there for 30 years, more than 30 years. I am a rural development professional. That's what I call myself because I have been working in the field of rural development across India. I have traveled most of the rural places of India, from Chhattisgarh to Meghalaya to Daman and Diu. I have been there. And I also run a small travel page called Khanabadosh Travel Living on Instagram. And I aim to also document the culture of the people and the history of Daman and Diu in future. So it's a work in progress.
Lovely. We'll make sure to keep close tabs on that, and we'll also definitely link it in our show notes so that way listeners can get a quick peek into your work as well. Now, we did touch upon your connection to Diu, and we're really, really glad to also be speaking to local, right? You can definitely call yourself a local, having lived most of your life.
Yeah, my Aadhaar card is from Diu.
Wonderful. Yeah, we need no more proof then. Geo, so give us a little bit more of a background because I know I think a lot of us, our introduction to Diu would be that, hey, Diu and Daman is union territory in India, and that's where we leave it at as well in most cases. We don't really get a chance to explore it beyond that. So really, really looking forward to this. So why don't you give us and the listeners a little bit more, firstly starting off with a geographical context, right, where Diu is, and also a little bit about the background. Having lived there, you probably know a lot more as well. So why don't you share a little bit more context around Diu?
Yeah, so Diu is a small island. Generally, people know it as Daman and Diu. It was Goa, Daman and Diu before, and Goa became a state, and Daman and Diu was turned into a union territory. And at present day, it has also merged with Dadra, Nagar, Haveli. So it is like Daman and Diu and Dadra, Nagar, Haveli. There are two member of parliaments that are sworn in from Daman and Diu right now. Daman is actually near Surat, and Diu is near Junagadh. Veraval is more closer to Diu. You must be knowing Somnath, which is one of the Shivlings that is 90 kilometers from there. It is at the Gulf of Cambay. It's in the Arabian Sea. It's a small island, 13 kilometers in length and 3 kilometers in breadth. From the mainland, it is separated by a small creek of the water that flows around. There are 2 bridges that connect the mainland now. Before there used to be a ferry service that used to transport people. And it has been a Portuguese colony, and Daman and Diu got independence much later than the Indian independence, that was in 1947. Daman and Diu became free in 1961. And
Right.
Goa became a state in 1987. So Daman and Diu became a union territory then.
Yeah, thank you. That was quite comprehensive in terms of some geographical context setting. And also, one of the biggest, I guess, misnomers. I know we always say Daman and Diu in the same breath, but in reality, they're separated by well over 600 kilometers,
Yes,
right?
yes.
They're not like twin cities or anything like that. That's really close. They're separated, and I guess only because they're union territories together. We have just like always said them in the same breath. You did briefly mention about the Portuguese. Colonization here and they living here for the longest time, but do you want to also set a little bit of historical context around the place, just in terms of who has been ruling the place? That way we'll be able to connect well with the cultural influences here too.
Yeah, so I'll start with the name of Diu. It's from a Sanskrit word called Dvipa. We generally call it like island, which is a Dvipa, and
Right.
the historians have said that it comes from that. And there have been a lot of, because Diu has been a port since long, and it has been a very important place because it's like in the western part of India, and it was a very good connection to the mainland of Gujarat also, and there were traders from across the Gulf who used to
Yep.
trade in Indian textiles, spices. So people used to come to the island, and it was made the gateway to the mainland of India. But with the development of Surat and Bombay, the things became less. Now it is
Right.
morely for a tourist place and a fishing hub. Yeah, and there have been the Portuguese settlement was around like 450 years. They came in like 1535 and they ruled till 1961. So there is a lot of influence of Portuguese still there, from the architecture to the houses to there's also people who speak Portuguese who are the descendants of the Portuguese from back then. And yeah, historically also, like the Mauryan Empire ruled there, the Chavda dynasty was there, the Mughal Empire was there. And I want to touch upon a very critical battle that took place, the Battle of Diu. It was between the Portuguese Empire and the Sultan of Gujarat. And the Sultan of Gujarat, he brought in, like, the Sultanate of Egypt also came in, the Zamorin of Calicut also came in, the Republic of Venice, Ottoman Empire, all together they were battling out for Diu, basically.
Yeah.
Because it was a main center, maritime center, because Khambat was a very important port back then, so it was like a pathway to go there also.
Yeah, this is something that's less spoken about, right? I mean, a lot of times when we talk about like fighting against powers or rulers from outside of this subcontinent,
Yeah.
we limit to like what of the European settlers that came here,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's
British,
all.
Dutch, Portuguese, and all of them. But yeah, this battle, like you mentioned, everybody from the Ottoman king to the others, there are so many of them, and Grand Alliance, and they still couldn't defeat the Portuguese. So
Yeah.
that also speaks to how well the Portuguese had this place fortified and held off the siege in this battle. So thank you so much for setting that context really well. And like you mentioned, the Portuguese influence also, given that they ruled this place for over 400 years, that is very stark. We will definitely touch upon that during the conversation. Now, just in terms of why one would visit Dio, right? Like, given that you've also lived there a long time, what sort of experiences can one expect while coming to Dio? Just in the summary before we get into the specifics.
Yeah, so for me, because I grew up there and my childhood was there and all, I feel, and now that I go back and see the place, it's like a soul of Portuguese stuck in the body of Gujarat. Because it's now like that. So
Yeah.
it's a small island. There are beautiful churches, more than 4 churches, and there are beautiful, pristine beaches that are there. So one can go there, and of course, if you're living in Gujarat, which is a dry state, where alcohol is prohibited, it's heaven for them.
Yeah.
So on weekends there are like a lot of crazy crowds there, because enjoying the beach basically, because the beach is also very clean and good, nicely maintained, and of course the infrastructure, because it's a union territory,
Right.
it's very very well kept.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. I think that's great summary. And for people who want to avoid maybe the mass commercialization or tourism in places like Goa, where you will find a similar combination, right? Beaches and Portuguese influence, etc.
Yeah.
You can definitely visit a place like Dio that offers a much offbeat option.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely dive into some of those specifics and talk a little bit more. For somebody visiting here, what type of an itinerary would you suggest in terms of number of days?
So I will say that you can come in for like 2 to 3 days, and a weekend will be perfect. So
Okay.
you can easily visit the whole place because it's like very less to travel around. It's like 10 to 13 kilometers, like the whole stretch. And
Yeah.
I think 3 days will be perfect. Like no rushing, and like you can calmly enjoy the place and the people and the beaches, the sunsets, the sunrises. It will be really nice.
Yeah, wonderful. And in terms of what would be a good time, I know especially coastal regions can get a little humid and hot during the summers. So, when would you suggest is a good time to visit?
So the best time they say it's in winter from October to February, because after that the
Okay.
summer comes in. But I feel that during the monsoons also the place is really beautiful. There are less crowds. There are people, very less people, travelers also, and it's very quiet and calm, and the green. It's all green.
Okay, beautiful. Awesome. I think we have kind of set up a good background before we get into some of the experiences that DU has to offer. How would one get around DU? Geo, what would you suggest? Like, is public transport good enough, or would you suggest like hiring a bike, like a scooty Activa type, like we mostly do in Goa, or do you prefer that you have your own like car or transport to get around from
Yeah.
place to
So
place?
first of all, I'll tell you how to reach Diu. Okay. So there are flights from Bombay. Air Alliance operates regular flights,
Okay.
and it's well connected. Every day there are flights. And by train you can come till Veraval. That is the nearest railway station. That is 90 kilometers from Diu. Till Veraval there are a lot of trains going on, and then from Veraval you can take a bus. And there are regular buses from Bombay, Ahmedabad, and by road you can come. It's good. And also now from Daman, if you are on the Surat side, you can come by helicopter. So
Oh,
there is a
wow.
helicopter power Hans that comes in. There's a daily flight from there, and it's like 2,500 or something. It's good. It's a very good experience if you're flying
Yeah.
from there also.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, that's not like an experience you get
yeah.
while
It's a
going to
one
every
hour.
other place.
Yeah, 1 hour
Yeah,
helicopter
so
flight. It's a great experience.
so for the adventurers, you could definitely think about that as well. Yeah, cool. So now, take us to Dio and show us around some of these experiences that we kind of touched upon at the beginning, right? How would you like to take one around? Just like be our local guide for
Yeah.
the weekend and show us around Dio and tell us how one can start exploring.
Yeah. So first of all, when you reach Diu, you can get bikes. You can rent out the mopeds or Activas that are there. It's like very cheap, like $200 or something for a day or something, and then you can go around. As so from Gujarat, when you enter, there are like checkposts that's built because of the smuggling of the alcohol takes place. So that is like a
Right.
huge gate that is there, and you enter and you feel like you are in different place of not similar to Gujarat. And then as soon as you enter Diu from the side from Gogla, if you're coming from Ahmedabad, you come from that side, and you go in and you reach the first beach, that is Gogla Beach. So that beach,
Okay.
it has been nominated for the Blue Flag Beach Award also. So
Yeah.
there are some beaches from India that have been nominated every year from uh, this Blue Flag organization. So, and it's
Yeah.
very pristine. It is very calm and quiet. There are less people there also, and you can do water sports and just see the skyline of Diu basically from there. So that is the best place to see the skyline of Diu because it's on the other side. It's not on the
Right.
mainland, so you can
Yeah.
spend a good time there also. With good
Okay.
photography, and then you can when you look at the skyline, in between that there is the Pani Kotha. So that is a fort that is there in the middle of the sea. So it's surrounded by like the Arabian Sea, and it's a small fort that is there, and it served as a jail also, and it was to await the the attackers that were there. So
Yeah.
and it's a really nice place. You can go by boat there. You can spend it feels like a ship in middle of the sea.
Yeah, I think that's what was like most evident to me. It almost felt like it's a big ship that's been built out, right?
Yeah.
It's basically almost like yeah, they used it for a few different reasons. I think initially during the early years of invasion and all of that, they used this as a place where like a first line of defense almost, right? Before one could reach towards Diu, and then beyond that they had like the jail and a lot of bastions and all of that around, and then later on during the trade phase of where trade was evolving a lot. They also use this almost like a customs checkpoint, right? So ships would pass from here, like get checked or whatever, pay taxes, and then get into the port. So yeah, very interesting. And this is called as the
Panikota Fort, yeah. So
fort,
yeah,
right?
so from Gogla Beach you can see the Panikota Fort also, and like there are stunning views of the Arabian Sea. Like you can see a 360-degree view from there. It's also called the Fortress of Bastion because of there is a chapel there, and then there are like it's two-floored structure is there basically.
Okay, yeah. And are they? I know. I think in between that stopped access to this, but can now like one take a ferry and go and still visit the Panikota Fort?
Yeah, so they were doing this just going around the boat was going around the Panikota and you come back. But now they have repaired it and they are developing it. So basically now Daman and Diu, they are in the smart city category of the government. So there is a very big infrastructure being developed. There is a seafront that is coming in. And lot of big infrastructure coming in there. They're revamping the whole place now.
Okay, wonderful. So we started off at the Gogla Beach.
Yeah.
This is the Blue Flag certified beach. And then what would you suggest after like one spends time here and gets a good view of the surrounding Arabian Sea, the Panikota Fort and stuff like that? Where would you suggest we go next?
I suggest that we go to the Diu Fort because that is the main attraction of Diu also, and it's on the most western part of Diu. It's on the one end. So we go there, and it is like a 2 to 3 hours of journey inside the fort. It's not paid. Also, you can go in for free, and you can spend like 3 hours there. There's a huge lighthouse that is there. There are a lot of cannons and old cannons that are there. And there are like checkposts where you can stand and you can see the whole of Diu from there. You must have seen the movie Kaipo Che. There are movies that there are songs that are Mithi Bolia. That song is shot there. The Sushant Singh Rajkumar Rao, and then Kayamat of Ajay Devgan. He also
this one I heard. Ajay Devgan is apparently very popular in Diu. He's shot a lot of movies there.
Yeah, Ajay Devgan is also a citizen like me. Because he comes in like in for most of the movies. He's there now. So
interesting. There's also the site of the Battle of Diu that you mentioned earlier, right? This is where the Portuguese basically held off the Grand Alliance that we mentioned earlier.
So when Portuguese started, they got the permission to build from the Sultan Badshah Shah. He gave the permission to build the fort first. So they built this first fort, Diu Fort first, and then they like took over the whole of Diu.
History can be interesting. Right? It's almost like politics of today, I think, right? I mean, everything is
most dirtier. It's like Game of Thrones for sure.
Yeah, because basically, even when I was looking up, I saw that Bahadur Shah, right, the Sultan of Gujarat that you mentioned, he led the Portuguese in to build this fort and as a defensive alliance against the Mughals.
Humayun,
and then Humayun, right? And they ended up basically taking over this, and then he was one of them who actually of that Grand Alliance. It was led by Bahadur Shah, I believe, right? To basically get this back from the Portuguese. So it's funny sometimes, but this is the Grand Fort of the Portuguese that we referred to.
And the fort is like a huge, massive structure. Like I have not seen such a fort. Basically, I don't think the Goa forts also. The Goa fort is as big as this, and it's well maintained also, and it's huge. And there are like tunnels and there are chapels, and there was a prison also, the live prison that was there. Now they have shifted it, I guess. Now nothing else. And they are doing a sound and light show also. That's what I heard last.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, but one can definitely spend a good amount of time here, and it's in very good condition, like Joe mentioned. So you could go around, and obviously the views are stunning too, given the strategic location.
Yeah,
right?
I just
So,
wanted to add one more thing, that
Yeah.
it was cut off from the mainland also, because it's at the end of view. So it was
Yeah.
cut off by a small canal, they say, and there were crocodiles in that, so it was difficult to enter that fort also.
Very interesting, and yeah, everybody wanted a piece of this again because of all of these, like the vantage point, the strategic location, and all of these things that are working for it. A lot of people were vying for the fort, and that's why this Grand Alliance tried to steal this back from the Portuguese, but they never. And there was actually 2 attempts to like lay siege on the fort, and both of them failed, as what I read too. So, very interesting bit of history, and the foundation on which I guess the Portuguese rule here was also built. So definitely make sure. Yeah, one of the key or iconic points in Dio, you would say, right?
Yes.
Nobody would probably miss this.
Yeah, it had to become the Chapora fort of Dil Chahta Hai, but but it couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. Cool, awesome. So this is one of the key places that one should not miss out on, the Dio Fort or Fort of Dio. Where next to?
Yeah,
Joe?
so from there it's like 1-2 kilometers from there. There's a Saint Paul's Church. That is the main church of Diu. There are like 3 churches in Diu, and this is the biggest and active right now. So the Christian community go there and pray right now. Every Sunday there are masses at 8:30. It's built on the lines of Born Jesus Basilica of Goa. But because I'm biased and I'm born and raised in Diu, I feel this church is better. The basilica, it's same model of basilica, but this is the white. It's a Baroque architectural style that they say, built by the Jesuits. There are like wooden carvings inside. There is a very good altar that has been made, and the wooden carvings are like really beautiful.
To your point, right? The wooden carvings is what that stood out to me as well. Like, yeah, in terms of architecture, it's similar to the Portuguese influences, obviously there. So it's similar to some of the others we've seen, but the wooden carving, it was pretty unique, right? And it's very intricate, and it has a lot of this also across the interiors, right? It's not like a little bit here and there. So that kind of stood out, and overall, Dio is also like very famous for carvings of these kind, right? I mean, primarily ivory carvings, but wooden carvings are also like a mainstay in a lot of the architectural features. So definitely check that out. And yeah, to your point, it's one of the bigger churches, and
there are also
more
Portuguese
popular
masses
churches.
that are held there, and I recommend that people should visit the church due basically during the time of Good Friday and Easter, because they still have the old ceremonies that are there, like the nailing of Jesus on the cross. They do it, and there's a procession, and it is one of a kind. I have not seen it anywhere else in India, but they still maintain it. There's a small community of like 30 to 45 families now there, and they do it. They still continue it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And near to the church, there was this school, the English medium, the first English medium school in Diu, that was Nirmala Mata High School. That's where my father and my mother taught there. But
Oh,
now,
wonderful.
yeah. But after the earthquake that hit in Bhuj in 2001, they changed because there were cracks that developed, and so it was not safe for the children there. So they built another school. But this is where we grew up, and from the church, from the windows of the school that are there, you can see the Pani Khota and the beach from there, from the windows itself. It's beautiful. And if you get a chance to climb on top of the rooftop of the church, that also will be really great to know about how the whole structure has been built, how the high ceilings they have built it.
Yeah, sounds really interesting, and I wonder if one is studying in that school, how much you could concentrate with beautiful views like this outside, right? I would definitely go for a window seat.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the key areas and places again, the St. Paul's Church, right? So make sure to visit this as well and check out some of the great architecture. And if you happen to visit there during the time, like Geo mentioned, either Easter or Good Friday, you may also be able to or experience older traditions that are still followed. Where next to after this?
So after that, from there, this place where the church is there, it's called the Firangi Vada, from the Portuguese people who live around the church also. So in that also, behind the St. Paul's Church, which is dedicated to Immaculate Conception, that the Mother Mary, there is another church that's called St. Thomas Church that has been converted into a museum right now. So it's there are a lot of sculptures, old statues of all the saints, and it is kept nicely, and it's a good place to go. There is a fountain that is there in front of the museum, and there are light shows there also in the evenings. So you go there. The museum is also really nice. There were places before to stay in the museum also on top. I don't think now it's allowed, but it was a really good place to stay also there. Most of the foreigners who came in, they used to stay in that type of places.
Yeah, I know that's true. And I guess now a majority of the visitors are probably from Gujarat, right? The mainland, I guess.
Yeah, and Gujarat, there are people coming from Gujarat for long because that was the only vacation spot for them. But now there are people who are coming from like across India also now. Because due tourism, they also had revamped their strategy, and they called it the island of calm, and they promoted it very nicely. And so people were very interested to come and see. So there are a lot of tourists coming from outside also now.
Yeah. Ilhada Kalma.
Ilhada Kalma,
right?
Island of Calm.
Ilhada Kalma, Island of Calm. Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. Definitely worth visiting though, and especially who's looking at a little bit more of an offbeat experience. This does make sense. Now we have touched upon a couple of churches and the museum as well, the St. Thomas Church that has been also converted into the Dio Museum. What else would you suggest we?
Yeah, so from there you go to the beach side, taking the whole coast. So first you'll reach the Jalandhar beach, which is a small beach with a good hillock and all that stuff. And there is a good structure called the summer house where you can sit and see the stunning views of Diu and the coastline. You can see the sun, just relax and see the sunset also from that point. There are a lot of people who come in there for just chilling out there.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this has nothing to do with Jalandhar and Punjab, right? It's
No. So this Jalandhar is called. It came into being. There is a statue of Jalandhar also there, and from what I know, it is from the Daman king Jalandhar, who was killed by Lord Krishna back then. Yeah, that's what the mythology says. Because I think because Lord Krishna, it is like Dwarka is nearer to Diu also, so maybe.
Yeah, no, that's correct. Just interesting thing to call out there. And in terms of, I believe there was a temple also on this beach, right? I guess maybe to signify that was this beach or.
No, there's a small temple called Chandika Mata on that. There are like the locals go there and believe, and there is another temple called Hanuman temple also that is also nearby. It's in the a rock formation, and then you walk inside. But it's not so popular with the tourists outside. But you can the locals go there. It's on Saturdays and all there, the Hanuman day, so they go there and pray basically. So from there, as you go towards the east side, from the beach, you see a lot of beaches on that part, and then you go to the the Chakratirth beach, which is called the Sunset Point.
Okay.
Yeah. So and from Jalandhar beach to Chakratirth beach, there is a whole stretch of beaches only. But people are not advised to like bathe in there or swim in there because there are rocks there basically. So that's why it's not allowed to. But in Chakratirth beach, you can do that.
So yeah, there's a few popular beaches as well that obviously being on the coast, there's a bunch of them, but there's a few popular ones. All of them primarily white sand beaches, so very clean, and like we saw, some of them also have one of them has the Gogla has the blue flag certification too. So very, very nice and clean. That's, I think, another thing that stands out from a lot of the other commercial beaches, like places in Goa and other places, that these are still relatively very clean and well maintained.
Yeah, that also stands out from Daman also, because in Daman there are black beaches, black sand beaches.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
That's
so
true.
in Chakatir Beach there's a huge hillock there, this is my favorite place to go in view. So every evening I'm there. On top of it there is a INS Kukri Memorial, the Indian naval ship that sunk
Right.
like 70 kilometers in the 1971 Indo-Pakistan war. So that they have made a replica of it and a tribute memorial to the people who had died and all. So it's like a huge ship model kept on the hillock.
Yeah, a scaled model of INS Kukri, right, during the India-Pakistan War of 1971. Basically, it was a Pakistani submarine that attacked the ship, and unfortunately, it did sink as a part of that attack. So, yeah, you can definitely go and look at that scaled model there, and it's also a very vantage point, right? It's a good view from there too. It's surrounded pretty much by water on most of the sites, so yeah, it's a good point. And Chakratit Beach is where you said is the sunset point as well.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely get some good views and catch a sunset here, and obviously make it a point to visit the INS Kukri.
And it's very clean and very peaceful and very beautiful. The sunset is one of the best
Yeah.
in India. I can vouch for it.
Yeah, definitely. We will take your word for it. I know you're from there, but we'll definitely take your word for it. Where next to? We've kind of covered a bunch of beaches as well.
Yeah, and on the same route, when you go towards the east side, there is a temple called Gangeshwar Temple. It's like it's in the rock formation, but it's in the water. So during the high tides, it's filled with water. There are like 5 shivlings that have been made. They say that when the Pandavas were in exile, they made the shivlings.
Yeah, it's very unique in the sense, like you mentioned, right? It's almost like you're going down into it, and it's almost built in a cave type of structure, you could say. And the interesting thing is, during high tide, it's almost submerged, right? You don't see the shivling, so it's a different kind of a visit compared to some of the other temples. Any other important beaches that you'd like to call out?
So just near to the Gangeshwar temple. So I'm just following the whole path on the way. You can just go. It's a circuit basically. So near to Gangeshwar temple, there is a tower of silence. So there are like the Parsi towers. It's made by the Parsi community, but right now it's not working. It's like a burial site kind of a thing. So they are like huge circular structures that have been made, and there they say that the bodies were put in to rest. So they are the ruins now there.
Yeah, it's not functional right now, but historically also, right, this is supposed to be a very sacred place for the Parsis. The sacred fire, like they say, the sacred fire was brought here from Persia back in the day, and it was here for a long time before they kind of moved it ahead. This is a small Parsi community. I think it's probably only in India that the Parsis remain now, but this place was pretty significant to the community as well, and has a lot of historical connections. So if you can make a stop here, but like Geo said, it's not functional anymore.
Yeah, and there were Parsis back then, but right now there are no Parsis left in Diu basically. But there was a Agyari, that is what the holy place of the Parsis was called. But now it's not in function.
Yeah, and as you continue on this circuit and continue with the beach hopping, where do you lead to next?
So you can go through the whole city, Diu city basically. So there are like streets, narrow winding streets that are there, and then you can see Portuguese and Indian architecture, old buildings that are there. So one specialization of Diu old buildings, I feel, is that there are like wooden beams that are there on the in the houses. So there are still houses that are there. Then there is a Nagar set ki Haveli, but you're not allowed to go inside. But you can see the architecture from outside. It's like a very old structure, a big palace kind of a thing. It's in view, and then there are like narrow winding roads through like small hillocks, and you go through. You can see the people of Diu. There are like small temples inside, and you should visit it. And just as you come out of Diu, you come out of like a Jhapa gate. So the Diu city, it is surrounded. It was a walled city.
Walled city.
Yeah. So there's a huge wall that is there just outside of the Diu city. So you can climb on top of that wall also now, and there is a heritage walk also there. You can just walk on top of it. They have made a walkway on top of it. They have repaired it, and they are like now doing a heritage walk on that also. You can visit that also. The Japa Gate also, it's like a huge red walled wall, and then you can take pictures of that place also. And just outside that, there is a huge cricket ground and indoor facility for the people of Diu, and swimming pool. Yeah, the perks of being in a union territory.
Yeah, no, that's true. But yeah, to your point, like this is almost like you said, the entrance to the walled city, right? The old city, also you could say, where you see all of these narrow, winding roads and the beautiful architecture and some very nice heritage, the Havelis and all of that you mentioned, right? This Nagar Set Haveli is actually pretty unique that way. It's bright orange in color. It has the it's almost like confluence of Gujarati and Portuguese architecture, you could say, right? It's a good confluence of that. And you can walk through these winding streets, and somewhat similar to these poles that you see in places like Ahmedabad.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. The Diu city is basically built in the same manner also. Like houses are very attached to each other, and there are like small winding roads, small gullies that are there going through. No big, huge buildings, like small buildings, like 2-3 floors that are there. But in the old traditional, and the interiors of the buildings are also like the old way, not the new age architecture.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, obviously you're spending a lot of time on the beaches and all of that as a part of your experience, but this is, I would argue that another way of exploring the city, right? Just walking through these older areas of the city and just soaking in the architecture, the old houses and stuff like that, and just appreciating some of that too. So definitely something to be explored while in Diu. And then any other types of experiences that you would like to call upon?
Yeah, so from Diu to the other part of the side of Diu. So when you have to go around like 8 kilometers, there you find the best beach in Diu, Nagwa Beach, the most touristic place. The most people who come in, there are like hotels on the beach itself, and there's a good crowd on the weekends. You can have your drinks, your beer, and just see the waves, swim in the sea, do all kinds of sports activities there. And there is like that is the place where the movie Agnipath of Hrithik Roshan, the remake. So it was shot there. Basically, they made the old Mandua village in Diu, in that place. The whole set was set up there. Yeah, and it's a good place. And there's a hillock where they have written DIU with the street lights.
Right. Yeah. That way as well. Like you mentioned, even for a lot of adventure sport type of activities on the beaches, right? Parasailing, speedboats, water skiing, etc. This beach is very popular for that. Anything else to call out in this area?
Yeah, there is one more place. There are two more places. So one place is Vanakbara village. So that is like 3 kilometers from Nagwa Beach also. So it is one of the most biggest fishing village also. So there are a lot of boats that are there, docked up, huge fishing travel boats, and then you can see there how the fish come in and go out, how the fishermen. Then you can see the boats also. So when they are on dock, like during the rainy season, you can see like 1,000 boats decked up. Wow. So it's a very beautiful sight. And when like after the monsoons, when the seas are not rough, and when all the boats can go into the sea, it's also a big festival there where people go see that, and like the boats enter the sea back after that.
Yeah, that should be quite a sight, right? And very unique also. So yeah, definitely. And can you please repeat the name of the place?
Vanakbara, you said? Vanakbara village.
Vanakbara village. Okay. Yeah. So this was one thing, and what was the other thing you were mentioning?
And also, I just wanted to add. So when you go from Nagwa Beach to Vanakbara, also there's a good stretch of land which has like on the right side there is forest, man-made forest that is there, and on the left side there is a huge beach that nobody goes to, but it's a very beautiful piece of stretch of land that is there. Good coastline. And you can get good fishes also from Vanakbara and take it home when you go back. And from there is also a church also. There is a small church in Vanakbara. If you want, you can visit that also. And they say that it was the first church in Diu. It's a small place. It's not functional, but it is there. Yeah.
Interesting.
And the next thing is the Fudam Bird Sanctuary. So when you come back from Vanakbara towards Diu on the main road, there is a bird sanctuary is there. So there is a watchtower where you can go and see the migratory birds. You can see flamingos and you can see
Yeah.
different type of birds there. You can go in the morning and then you can see it's like on the marshy land there are a lot of birds that come in during the winter time.
Yeah, yeah. When I was kind of impressed by this, right? The Fudam Bird Sanctuary, basically. So for somebody who wants to mix it up with a little bit of nature as well, there's a good option that you could go spend time at the bird sanctuary. Another interesting place I saw, and I don't know if you were going to mention this, but I thought I could bring this up, was the Naida caves, right? Is this also something you're aware of? It's limestone caves, I believe, that are there close to the Jalandhar beach.
Yes, yes. It's a naturally formed rock cut caves that are there. There
Yeah.
also there are some scenes of parched of Radhika Apte that was shot there in that Naida cave.
Oh,
Sorry for my
interesting.
trivia of movies.
No, I love Bollywood trivia. I like to boast about my Bollywood trivia. I'm glad that you're doing the job for me.
Yeah, it's a very so there is a rock cut formations that are there. Like you have to walk down the steps, and it's like an underground thing. And then you walk around the underground rock settings, and then there are like good light that comes in and gives you cool air inside, and you can see the stunning interplay of light and shadow in that.
Yeah, yeah. So that is something that was kind of mentioned in a lot of places that I looked up. That it's a beautiful view, right? With sun, the rays of the sun coming in, and obviously these are naturally formed caves. It's a really beautiful sight to behold. So. Definitely does that. But yeah, cool. There's a lot of interesting things that we touch upon, right? And like I said, for a lot of us, Dio would have just been a question in our geography class, the Union Territory of Dio and Daman. Like that's where our knowledge of Dio would end. I'm so glad that we got to speak about so much more, right? Just beyond it being a Union Territory to its connections and its beautiful places also and experiences it has to offer. Anything else to touch upon? So an overall experience or place to check out while one is visiting Dio?
Also, I missed one more thing. It's a small seashell museum in Nagwa Beach. It's privately owned by a captain who was so in Diu because in the village of Gogla across the bridge. It's a fishing hamlet, so people of that village are mostly into merchant navy and stuff like that. So there was a captain, I forgot his name, but he, from his experience, when he retired, he formed this seashell museum, and it has like the display of shells found on the beaches from across the world, like 2,500 rare, unique shells he has. And it's really, I like that place, and it's a good place to like from Caribbean to Red Sea to the Pacific Ocean. He has like things from the seabed he has collected, so that is a good place.
Yeah, very interesting. This is the Seashell
Yeah,
Museum.
it's just near to the airport and the Nagwa
Yeah.
beach.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. And yeah, one other important thing also we didn't touch upon or haven't touched upon yet is the cuisine and the local food of the place. Right? Do you want to touch upon that as well, Gio?
Yeah. So cuisine, basically seafood, it's good, but in hotels, it's not so tasty. I don't like it much, but like the fried fish, it must be good only. It's good because of the fresh fish that is there. And then you can find the local Portuguese cuisine also. There are some places, some restaurants that are there still active, like Okokuro, I guess. They serve Portuguese food. You can try it there. And because of the Gujarati influence, you can try farsan. It's a Gujarati
Okay.
snack that is there. I die for it and I miss it. It's a deep fried baked snacks, khaman and fafda and khakra. And then one go-to place that I go every day is a small stall, and they sell fish cutlets. So it's
Oh
like,
wow. Okay.
yeah, they fish the fresh fish and they make fish cutlets with bread in between. It's really, really tasty. And one more guy who is a celebrity in Diu is known as the Disco Lassi Wala, and he's a big fan of Akshay Devgan. Also, he has like
Okay.
he has photographs with every celebrity that was in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he makes the speciality is he makes the lassi dancing, so doing disco.
Yeah.
So he throws the
Yeah.
glass around and doing acrobatic stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah. This is also one of the very quirky places that I came across. Harish, right? Or
Yeah,
I
yeah,
forget the
Harish,
name.
Harish, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Disco Lassi he's popularly known as, and yeah, he's basically dancing to Bollywood numbers as he's making lassi for you. So
Yeah, he's a
yeah,
legend.
definitely try that out. Yeah, and yeah, obviously beyond that, there's the booze that you mentioned, right? Because there's a union territory, and because the dry state in the neighborhood, a lot of people do come here for the cheap liquor. So that's something.
Like if it's very hot and all, there is a place called Ram Vijay. So it is like the McDonald's of Diu, and you get you get good milkshakes and good
Yeah,
lassi and good ice creams that are like they make it from like they are the shop from 1930s or something. So their great
yeah,
grandfathers made it, and it's really tasty. You can go and check
yeah.
it out. You can get pizzas and sandwiches and stuff like that.
I think I also found this. They offer a lot of sodas, right?
Yes.
And that was also very unique. Like not a lot of people offer that. Different flavors of sodas.
One unique soda is cream soda. So that is, yeah, it's very cheap and it's like you have a vanilla flavored soda.
Yeah, in terms of cuisine as well, you did touch upon it, but because of the closeness to Gujarat, a lot of Gujarati cuisine is also very popular and available in the place. There's a good variety for any sort of tourist slash traveler trying to visit the place and spend it doing. It could be mainstream things like beach hopping and checking out some of the commercial beaches, but at the same time, you could also easily turn it into an offbeat experience, right? Given that it's not visited by tourists in large numbers. A lot of these places are very, very unexplored, and even beyond the beaches that we spoke, there's beautiful churches, a lot of good architecture to check out, and then nature-related things, right, like the Fudam Bird Sanctuary and stuff like that. But thank you so much, Gio. You gave us a very, very leisurely and comprehensive coverage of Dio, and true to being a local there. I think now we don't need to see your Aadhaar card to prove that you're from Dio. You gave us a really, really wonderful experience of Dio, and just helped us in understanding this place a lot more better, right? Than just doing lip service to the name and knowing that it's a union territory. We got to know so much more, right from the historical connections and the mythological stories related to the place to the beauty of the place too. So thank you so much. And before leaving us, any final thoughts, Gio, to add to our listeners, as well as please do also share your Insta page where you capture all of these stories.
Yeah. So when you're visiting Diu, you can club it with the Girnar and the Gir forest that is there. That is like very near to like 100 kilometers from Diu. So you can visit that place also. It's the Gir forest, famous for the lions, Gir lions also. It is very near. And you can also climb the Girnar mountain. That is also a good place. And then you can visit the Somnath town, that is 90 kilometers. And nearby Diu also there is like a hot spring called Tulsi Sham that you can visit. There is a waterfall called Jamwala that you can visit if you have time. And happy holidaying.
Yeah, definitely a perfect weekend itinerary. But beyond that, if somebody wants to make it a part of a longer itinerary, there's all these wonderful places in the vicinity that you could combine with and make it a week-long itinerary if you'd like to. Well, once again, from the bottom of our hearts, it's always a pleasure to host travelers, and especially more so when we have somebody who's a listener on the podcast. So thank you very much, Gio, for coming and sharing these wonderful stories from you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Saf. Thank you for making this happen. And it's really beautiful. Keep it up.
Thank you so much. We'll stay in touch. That was yet another great episode on the Musafir Stories. Make sure to show us some love by sharing the podcast with your friends and family. We are on Instagram and Twitter at Musafir Stories. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or the website. Follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.